If there was ever a more perfect representation of the identity politics obsessed left taken to school on race, I have not seen it. Something similar happened with Candace Owens as a black conservative herself, picked to shreds the race baiting and gaslighting of the Hill's Krystal Ball. You need to see this one for yourself, so let's get into it.
Does it bother you that there's no prominent African Americans in the White House?
We have to stop believing in this illusion that because somebody is black, they represent my interests. We learned that lesson via Barack Obama. I mean, he was in the White House for 8 years and didn't do much for the black community. So I'm not interested in the color of people's skin. So I'm interested in what they do and what they accomplish.
I'm really interested in your perspective here. Yeah. So to you having, like, you don't look at, you know, it is an administration that has more white men than past administrations have had. Yeah, but that doesn't bother you. You don't think that diversity is important?
No, not at all. I think that we have to stop believing that diversity is the color of people's skin.
She says that like it's a disease, bothered over white men in the administration, only someone subsumed by their race-tinted view of the world can even make the frankly racist assumption. And you know what's the worst thing about it? As you'll later see in this clip, Krystal is completely blinded to the racism from the left by her self-righteous virtue signaling for black Americans, and the result comes across as demeaning and reductive as any racism from the alt-right. By the way, she's the same person that once called white people, quote, the most privileged class in America, which is a broad race denomination demographic, scapegoating that should never be accepted in a truly colorblind society.
In a tweet, you originally said you thought there was zero chance conservatives sent bombs. I think you took that tweet down.
Yeah.
But you later added, it isn't conservatives that are chasing people down in offices and restaurants. It isn't conservatives that have weaponized sexual assault as a means to political gain. I stand by my opinion that when it comes to political violence, the left is the likely culprit.
That's correct. So we've seen that.
You think that it was the left or Democrats who sent these pipe bombs?
I think we're all entitled to have an opinion. We don't have any facts surrounding this, and Twitter is a venue where you're allowed to express your opinions and beliefs. And
but just to be clear, so that's not based on any facts. That's just your
Of course, it couldn't possibly be based on facts. We don't have any.
Remember, this was in the context of the infamous mail bomb incidents back in 2018. Which saw the start of a massive media tirade against the entire Republican Party and Donald Trump as a womb of some kind of new coordinated domestic terrorism against the left. This was despite the fact that it was just pure conjecture in the days before a culprit was found. One Cesar Sayon was traced as the lone culprit and rightly sentenced to 20 years in prison for mailing explosives to political dissenters. But if you just go back and look at much of the coverage in the MSM, it's easy to see why Candace Owens would be forced to show that contrast when it comes to actual coordinated violence and vandalism. The riots in 2020 were some of the most destructive acts of political ravagery in recent times. They came from the far left, and for some reason didn't invoke the same degree of hue and cry from the mainstream media.
There was another tweet that said, the Democratic Party is comprised of racist white liberals.
That is correct.
Am I a racist white liberal?
Well, let's go back. And let's say, I will say this, that many people in the party are not aware of their own racism. Let's go back to an early part of this conversation where you said to me, are you concerned about the color in the White House? Why would you ask me that question?
Because you speak about black issues.
No, but why would you ask me? But let's get to really the nucleus of this. Why did you ask me that question today?
You know what's the most destructive kind of racism? One that you don't even know you possess, because that means there's no awareness and no self-correcting mechanism to see what's wrong with how you think. I have to say, someone like Krystal Ball falls perfectly into that category. There's a phrase that captures modern woke racism of this kind perfectly. They want diversity of color, but not diversity of opinion. That conflation is the only reason I can think of why she'd even ask Candace about the color of the people in the White House. But it was at this point that the panel starts to get visibly heated, with an uneasy second host as well as Charlie Kirk forced to take a backseat in the conversation, even as the producers implore the hosts to stop the segment.
Bringing the black conservatives to the White House.
You view me as a racist white liberal.
I think that you're not, first off, you put those words in my mouth and you keep saying it. So I'm not, I said that the Democrat Party is comprised of racist white liberals. Is every person in the party racist? No, but you're not aware of the fact that you put these racist tones out into the media. This is why we have to bring the black conservatives to the president, because you create a narrative when you're on TV like you did today.
Are you comfortable with the fact that you later because I have questions for you as well. But we actually have to get out of the segment now.
It's kind of disconcerting watching Krystal put on a smirk as if she's asked the greatest gotcha question of all. Narrowing the broader point to personal arguments is a common debate tactic at disarming someone like Candace Owens, and you can see her start to make clear that she didn't imply that. Candace in recent years has become one of the strongest pulls for Black conservatives because she gives them the empowering message they need, rather than the victimhood narrative being sold to them right now. She had even organized the Young Black Leadership Summit in the White House during the Trump administration to make them feel heard and empowered.
They cannot fathom that we would ever have the courage to stand up and to tell them no more. No more victim narrative, CNN. No more victim narrative, MSNBC. No more telling us that we cannot do something because of the color of our skin. No more fear politics. No more attempts to scare us into voting for you. No more lies. No more half-truths.
But the Hill's fiery segment wasn't done yet. Candace and Krystal quickly threw it all out the window to try and come out on top. It's actually a common theme with Candace. She's the most assertive when being made out as a victim for her race.
You called me a racist white liberal.
I did not. You said that, and we can run the tape
down.
I
want to say, look, here's what I want to say.
You quoted a tweet, and then you made it about you.
I appreciate.
You were not added, but you were not added in that tweet. So do not say that I called you that because that's dishonest. And we are on, on TV. So you can run. Okay, so I did not call you a racist. You're using the typical leftist tactic of trying to make yourself a victim, which is not something that I will accept.
Hold on. No, but we're actually well beyond time.
As you can predict, Krystal didn't take lightly to this on-air spat. And looking at much of the later coverage from The Hill, it's easy to see Krystal taking every chance she can to criticize Candace Owens. But in the wider media landscape that's becoming increasingly hostile to people like her that don't think how they should be thinking, Candace is one of only a few people that are genuinely interesting to watch, no matter what side you're on.